Hello and welcome. The greatest shields that stand between the innocent and annihilation bear scales of burnished gold, gleaming silver, and shimmering bronze. They do not wait in armories or hang upon castle walls. They soar through ancient skies, their wings casting shadows across entire valleys, their breath capable of reshaping landscapes. These are not mere weapons forged by mortal hands, but living embodiments of justice itself. Creatures whose very existence serves as a bulwark against the darkness that seeks to consume all creation. You have heard tales of dragons, no doubt. Stories whispered in taverns of terrible beasts that hoard treasure and devour heroes. But there exists another truth, one far older and infinitely more profound. For every chromatic worm that spreads terror and devastation, metallic dragons stand vigilant, their eternal watch unbroken since the dawn of creation itself. They are the guardians you never see protecting you, the ancient powers working tirelessly to ensure that evil does not triumph, that civilization endures, and that the innocent find shelter from the storms of chaos and destruction. Before we descend into these forbidden histories, please consider subscribing to the channel. It is the surest way to find your path back to our library of lore when you wake. Section 1. The Ancient Compact and Divine Origins. The story of the metallic dragon's vigil begins not in mortal memory, but in the earliest days of creation, when the multiverse itself was young, and the very concept of good and evil took shape in the cosmic balance. Long before the first kingdoms rose, before humanoid civilizations built their cities and temples, the dragons already ruled the primordial world. They were among the first children of creation, beings of immense power, whose very essence connected them to the fundamental forces of reality. But even in those ancient times, a division formed among dragonkind, a schism that would define the eternal struggle between protection and predation, between order and chaos. The tale begins with Bahamut himself, the platinum dragon, whose magnificence and power stand unmatched among all dragonkind. Unlike his dark counterpart Tiamat, who embodies draconic greed, cruelty, and tyranny, Bahamut represents the highest ideals to which any being can aspire. He is justice personified, wisdom made manifest in draconic form. His scales shine with a platinum luster that puts even the finest silver to shame, each one a perfect mirror reflecting the truth of all things. When he walks among mortals, which he does far more often than many realize, he appears not in his terrible true form, but as an elderly human wanderer accompanied by 7 golden canaries. These birds are no mere familiars, but ancient gold dragons who have sworn themselves to his service, their true forms concealed by divine magic. Bahamut's role as the patron deity of metallic dragons cannot be overstated. He is not simply their god, He is their father in the truest sense, the architect of their noble purpose, and the source of their unwavering commitment to good. According to draconic tradition, Bahamut created the first 5 metallic dragons as protectors of the good, while Tiamat birthed the 5 chromatic dragons as agents of conquest. Each metallic kindred was imbued with specific virtues and responsibilities. The golds received his wisdom and regal bearing. The silvers gained his compassion and protective instincts. The bronzes inherited his sense of order and justice. The brass dragons were given his curiosity and love of knowledge. The coppers obtained his appreciation for cleverness and joy. The eternal vigil of the metallic dragons was not imposed upon them as a burden, but rather emerged as the natural consequence of their very essence. From the moment the first gold dragon opened its eyes and beheld the young world, it understood instinctively that its power came with profound responsibility. The metallic dragons possessed strength that could reshape landscapes, magic that could alter reality itself, and lifespans that stretched across millennia. Such gifts could not be squandered on selfish pursuits or hoarded like the treasure in chromatic dragons' lairs. Instead, they must be wielded in service of something greater than any individual dragon, no matter how ancient or powerful. The chromatic dragons, spawned from Tiamat's dark essence, represented everything the metallic dragons opposed. Where metallic dragons valued wisdom and restraint, chromatics embraced pride and wrath. Where metallics protected the weak, chromatics preyed upon them. Where metallics built alliances and fostered civilization, chromatics sowed destruction and chaos. The red dragons embodied rage and domination. The blues represented tyrannical order and cruel conquest. The greens spread corruption and deception. The whites brought savage fury and mindless destruction. The blacks festered with malice and cruelty. Against such forces, the metallic dragons could not remain passive observers. The first battles between metallic and chromatic dragons occurred in an age so remote that even the elves, with their prodigious memories and extensive chronicles, possess only fragmentary legends of those primordial conflicts. The world itself was different then, wilder and more elemental. Entire continents rose and fell in the span of centuries. Civilizations of beings long since vanished rose to glory and crumbled into dust. Through it all, the eternal struggle between good dragons and evil dragons raged across the skies, their battles shaping the very geography of the world. Mountains were created where great worms fell. Lakes formed where their blood pooled. Valleys emerged where their death throes carved great gouges in the earth. But the metallic dragons learned quickly that direct combat alone could not fulfill their sacred duty. Yes, they could match chromatic dragons in battle. Their breath weapons and magic proving equal to or superior than their evil counterparts. A gold dragon's weakening breath could strip an enemy of strength. A silver dragon's paralyzing gas could freeze foes in place. A bronze dragon's lightning breath could shatter even the mightiest defenses. A brass dragon's sleeping breath could render entire armies unconscious. A copper dragon's slowing breath could turn swift attackers into crawling targets. Yet victory in battle did not prevent the next attack, the next rampage, the next horror unleashed upon the innocent. True protection required something far more complex and nuanced than simple martial superiority. The metallic dragons realized they must become not just warriors, but guardians in the fullest sense of the word. This meant watching over mortal civilizations as they grew from primitive tribes to mighty empires. It meant learning the ways of humanoids, understanding their needs, their fears, their aspirations. It meant sometimes fighting beside mortals as allies rather than swooping down as divine saviors. It meant offering counsel to kings and comfort to peasants. It meant being present not just in moments of crisis, but in the long, quiet years when threats gathered in darkness, unseen by mortal eyes. The compact that emerged among the metallic dragons was never formally written or proclaimed. It needed no grand declaration or binding oath. Instead, it existed as a shared understanding, a collective commitment that passed from ancient worms to newly hatched wormlings. Every metallic dragon, upon reaching the age where it could think and reason, came to understand its place in the eternal vigil. The specifics might vary. A gold dragon might dedicate itself to advising mortal rulers and ensuring just governance. A silver dragon might patrol vast regions, protecting travelers and settlements. A bronze dragon might guard a particular coastline or harbor city. A brass dragon might preserve ancient knowledge in remote desert strongholds. A copper dragon might defend a mountain pass or valley, using wit and trickery to confound those who would harm the innocent. Yet beneath these individual choices lay the fundamental unity of purpose. Every metallic dragon, regardless of its particular focus or chosen territory, served the same ultimate goal. They were the shield against darkness, the vigilant guardians who ensured that evil did not triumph. They stood ready to intervene when chromatic dragons threatened civilization, when fiendish armies marched forth from the lower plains, when dark wizards sought to unmake reality itself, when any great evil rose that mortal defenders could not face alone. This commitment extended beyond Faerun, the world most commonly associated with dragons in mortal imagination. Across the multiverse, on countless worlds, and in infinite planes of existence, metallic dragons maintained their vigil. In Aberon, they emerged to shape that world's destiny in profound ways. On Krynn, during the terrible conflicts known as the Dragon Wars, they fought beside mortal heroes against chromatic dragons and dark gods. The bond between dragons and mortals proved essential to defeating the darkness that threatened to consume entire worlds. Bahamut's palace, which exists on the plain of Mount Celestia in the realm called Mershin, serves as the spiritual heart of the metallic dragon's vigil. This magnificent fortress, built upon the highest peaks of that holy mountain, stands as a beacon of hope and justice visible across multiple planes. Its towers reach toward the infinite sky, each one crafted from precious metals that sing with divine magic. Gold spires catch the eternal light of Mount Celestia's sun, while silver domes reflect it across the heavens. Bronze gates stand open to all who come seeking justice or sanctuary. Brass bells ring out across the realm, their tones carrying messages of hope and warning. Copper weather vanes turn in winds that blow from every corner of the multiverse. Within these halls, the most ancient and powerful metallic dragons gather to counsel with Bahamut himself. They discuss threats to the cosmic balance, plan responses to emerging evils, and coordinate their efforts across multiple worlds and planes. When a particularly terrible danger emerges, when the forces of evil marshal for some great assault, it is in Bahamut's palace that the response takes shape. Ancient golds debate strategy with wise silvers. Practical bronzes offer tactical insights. Knowledgeable brasses share intelligence gathered from countless sources. Clever coppers suggest unexpected approaches that might catch enemies off guard. But Bahamut's palace is more than just a war room for planning defenses against evil. It also serves as a sanctuary for good dragons who need respite from their vigilance, a place of healing for those wounded in battle, and a school where young metallic dragons learn what it means to fulfill their sacred duty. Wormlings barely able to fly arrive here, brought by their parents, or sometimes by Bahamut's own servants, to learn from the ancient worms. They hear stories of legendary heroes and terrible villains. They practice their breath weapons and magic under the guidance of masters who have perfected these arts over millennia. They learn philosophy and theology, studying the nature of good and evil, justice and mercy, strength and restraint. Perhaps most importantly, young metallic dragons learn the delicate balance required of true guardians. Power alone does not make one a protector. The mightiest dragon can cause as much destruction as any chromatic worm if it acts without wisdom. A gold dragon capable of leveling mountains must learn when to use that strength and when to stay its claws. A silver dragon, whose magic can reshape reality, must understand when intervention helps and when it hinders mortal growth. A bronze dragon, whose presence can bring order, must recognize when order becomes oppression. A brass dragon, whose knowledge spans millennia, must know when to share wisdom and when to let others discover truth themselves. A copper dragon, whose tricks can confound any enemy, must grasp when cleverness serves good and when it crosses into cruelty. This education never truly ends. Even the most ancient worms, those who have lived for thousands upon thousands of years, still learn and grow. They must, for the nature of evil constantly evolves. New threats emerge that require new responses. Old dangers resurface in unexpected forms. The chromatic dragons develop new strategies. Fiends find fresh ways to corrupt the innocent. Dark powers rise that previous generations never imagined. The eternal vigil demands eternal vigilance, eternal learning, eternal adaptation. The relationship between Bahamut and his metallic children extends beyond mere deity and worshipper. He knows each of them individually, regardless of their age or power. He has walked beside them in mortal guise, offering counsel when they face difficult choices. He has fought alongside them when the greatest evils threatened creation. He has mourned when they fall in battle against overwhelming darkness. And he has celebrated their triumphs, those moments when their intervention saves thousands of innocent lives or prevents some catastrophic evil from coming to pass. In return, the metallic dragons offer Bahamut more than worship. They offer their service, their commitment to the ideals he represents. When a gold dragon chooses to advise a mortal ruler toward just governance, rather than simply hoarding treasure in some remote mountain lair, it honors Bahamut. When a silver dragon risks its life defending a village from an attacking red dragon, it serves Bahamut's purpose. When a bronze dragon patiently teaches a young paladin the difference between justice and vengeance, it furthers Bahamut's work. When a brass dragon preserves ancient knowledge that might otherwise be lost forever, it contributes to Bahamut's grand design. When a copper dragon uses humor and cleverness to turn aside a threat without bloodshed, it reflects Bahamut's wisdom. The compact, this understanding between Bahamut and his metallic children, forms the foundation upon which the eternal vigil rests. It provides structure without rigidity, purpose without compulsion, duty without tyranny. Each metallic dragon remains free to choose its path, to decide how best it can serve the cause of good. Some become warriors, dedicating themselves to direct combat against evil. Others become scholars, seeking knowledge that might prevent future conflicts. Still others become diplomats, building alliances between good peoples. Some work openly, their presence known to all. Others operate in secret, their interventions invisible to those they protect. Yet all remain united in their fundamental commitment. They are the guardians, the watchers, the protectors. They stand between civilization and annihilation. They face the darkness so others need not. They sacrifice their own desires, their own comfort, sometimes even their own lives, so that innocent beings might live in peace and safety. This is not simply what they do. This is what they are. The eternal vigil is not an occupation they might someday leave. It is their identity, their purpose, their very reason for existence. Section 2. The 5 Kindreds of the Vigil. Among the metallic dragons, 5 distinct kindreds each embody different aspects of Bahamut's divine nature and approach the eternal vigil with methods uniquely suited to their temperaments and abilities. Though all serve the same fundamental purpose, the way they fulfill their sacred duty varies as greatly as the landscapes they protect. Understanding each kindred reveals the full scope and complexity of the metallic dragon's guardianship. The gold dragons stand as the undisputed paragons among all metallic dragonkind. Their scales shimmer with a luster that surpasses even the finest treasure, each one catching light and transforming it into cascading waves of brilliance. When a gold dragon takes flight, the sun itself seems to pale in comparison. These magnificent beings possess wisdom that transcends mere knowledge, understanding that reaches beyond simple facts into the deeper truths of existence. They do not simply know history, they comprehend the patterns within it. They do not merely study philosophy, they embody its highest principles. They do not just observe mortal civilizations, they understand the intricate web of cause and effect that shapes societies across generations. Gold dragons approach their guardian role with a perspective shaped by centuries or even millennia of observation and contemplation. They rarely intervene impulsively, instead considering each action's long-term consequences. When a gold dragon chooses to involve itself in mortal affairs, it does so with deliberate purpose and careful planning. Many serve as advisors to the greatest rulers and most noble leaders, though they often conceal their true nature behind shape-changed forms. A wise king might never realize that his most trusted counselor, the elderly sage who appears at court during times of crisis, is actually an ancient gold dragon who has guided that kingdom's rulers for hundreds of years. These dragons understand that true protection often means preventing conflicts before they begin, stopping tyranny before it takes root, identifying corruption before it spreads beyond control. A gold dragon might spend decades subtly influencing events, ensuring that the right people rise to positions of power, that just laws replace corrupt ones, that alliances form between good peoples. When war becomes unavoidable, when evil cannot be turned aside through wisdom and diplomacy, gold dragons become terrible engines of destruction. Their weakening breath strips enemies of strength, reducing mighty warriors to helpless shadows of themselves. Their magic reshapes battlefields, and their physical might can shatter castle walls. Yet they never forget that war represents a failure of other methods, a last resort when all alternatives have been exhausted. Gold dragons typically make their lairs in remote locations, often choosing caves and castles made of stone, though they do not have exceptionally strong preferences about terrain. Many favor places near lakes or rivers where they can observe the surrounding lands. These lairs contain not just treasure, though gold dragons accumulate vast hoards, but also extensive libraries and artifact collections. Ancient tomes line stone shelves carved from living rock. Magical items rest in careful arrangements, each one studied and understood. Maps cover walls, showing territories watched and threats monitored. A gold dragon's lair serves as both sanctuary and command center, a place where the dragon can retreat to contemplate complex problems and plan long-term strategies. The very region around a gold dragon's lair becomes imbued with magic, causing gems and pearls within 1 mile to sparkle and gleam with faint light. Silver dragons, while perhaps less overtly powerful than their golden cousins, possess qualities that make them equally valuable to the eternal Vigil. Their scales gleam with a pure, bright luster that seems to radiate hope itself. Where gold dragons focus on wisdom and long-term planning, silver dragons embrace compassion and immediate action. They cannot stand idly by when innocents suffer. Their hearts break at injustice, and their rage ignites when they witness cruelty. This emotional connection to those they protect drives them to intervention more readily than golds, though not recklessly. These dragons walk among mortals far more frequently than any other metallic kindred. They adopt humanoid forms and live within mortal communities, sometimes for years or even decades at a time. A silver dragon might appear as a wandering knight errant, traveling from town to town, offering aid to those in need. Another might take the form of a humble innkeeper in a border village, using that position to gather intelligence about threats while providing shelter to travelers. Still another might become a captain of the guard in a great city, ensuring that law protects the innocent rather than serving the powerful. They even share in human dining customs, using their alternate forms to participate in large feasts, a trait that distinguishes them among dragonkind. Silver dragons form genuine friendships with mortals, bonds that transcend the vast differences in power and lifespan between them. They mourn when these friends inevitably age and die, yet they continue forming new connections, refusing to let grief turn them cold or distant. This willingness to love despite inevitable loss represents perhaps their greatest strength and their most profound sacrifice. They know each friendship will end in sorrow, yet they embrace mortal companions anyway, because isolation would mean abandoning their sacred duty. Their paralyzing breath weapon proves devastatingly effective against evil creatures. Enemies find themselves frozen in place, unable to move or defend themselves, utterly vulnerable. This allows silver dragons to subdue foes without necessarily killing them, an option they prefer when possible. Unlike chromatic dragons who revel in slaughter, silvers recognize that even evil beings might be redeemed. A bandit paralyzed and captured might repent and reform. An orc warrior frozen and questioned might provide intelligence that prevents future attacks. Death remains an option, sometimes a necessary one, but silver dragons never choose it casually. Silver dragons favor lairs in clouds or high mountain peaks, places where they can maintain their solitary contemplation while remaining close enough to mortal lands for swift intervention. Their hoards contain less gold than other dragons might accumulate, but more items of sentimental value. A silver dragon's treasure might include a child's carved toy, given as thanks for saving their village. A simple sword carried by a heroic warrior who fought beside the dragon decades ago. A worn book of poetry written by a mortal friend long dead. These objects hold meaning far beyond their material worth. Gold dragons maintain strict hierarchies among their kind with elected leaders, while silver dragons tend to group together in clan-like structures. Though individual dragons may conform to or reject these social patterns, bronze dragons embody order and justice in their purest forms. Their scales ripple with colors ranging from deep brown to brilliant azure, like sunlight dancing on ocean waves. These dragons claim coastal regions as their territories, watching over port cities, fishing villages, and naval trade routes. They understand that civilization requires laws, that societies need structure, that justice must be upheld consistently rather than applied arbitrarily. Unlike tyrannical blue dragons who twist law into a tool of oppression, bronze dragons recognize that true justice serves the people, not the powerful. Many bronze dragons involve themselves directly in maritime affairs. They might serve openly as guardians of a harbor, their presence known and welcomed by the inhabitants. Ships bearing flags of allied nations sail freely under their protection, while pirates and raiders face swift retribution. Bronze dragons patrol vast stretches of coastline, their keen eyes spotting distress signals from miles away. Their powerful wings carrying them to aid those in peril. They dive beneath waves with equal ease, for water poses no obstacle to these magnificent creatures. Underwater communities know bronze dragons as friends and protectors, beings who help maintain the delicate balance between surface and depth dwellers. These dragons possess a strong sense of duty and responsibility. When a bronze dragon accepts guardianship over a region, it takes that commitment seriously. Storms, illness, age. None of these excuse abandoning one's post. Bronze dragons maintain their vigil year after year, decade after decade, becoming fixtures of the communities they protect. Generations of mortals grow up knowing that a bronze dragon watches over their harbor, that their fishing boats sail under its protection, that raiders will face its wrath should they threaten their shores. Bronze dragons enjoy each other's company and may be seen swimming or playing together in their coastal domains. Their lightning breath crackles with devastating power, splitting masts and shattering hulls, reducing entire crews of pirates to charred corpses in seconds. Yet bronze dragons use this terrible weapon judiciously, often as a warning first. A lightning bolt striking the water near a ship serves as an unmistakable message to turn back or face destruction. Only those who ignore such warnings experience the full fury of a bronze dragon's breath. Their magic complements their physical might, allowing them to control weather, summon storms against enemies, or calm tempests that threaten allied vessels. Bronze dragons typically lair in coastal caves, preferably those accessible both by land and sea. These lairs often feature underwater entrances that only the dragon knows, providing security against unwanted visitors. Their hoards include treasures salvaged from shipwrecks, pearls harvested from giant oysters, coral formations of surpassing beauty, and nautical equipment. Maps showing safe passages through dangerous waters hang on walls. Logs documenting years of maritime activity fill shelves. A bronze dragon's lair serves as both home and operational headquarters for maintaining order across its territory. Brass dragons, often underestimated by those who mistake their love of conversation for frivolity, serve as knowledge keepers and desert guardians. Their scales gleam like burnished metal, warm and welcoming under the harsh sun. These dragons make their homes in the most inhospitable deserts, places where few other creatures dare to dwell. They understand that knowledge represents a form of treasure more valuable than gold. That wisdom preserved might save countless lives in future generations. That stories and histories must be maintained, lest vital lessons be forgotten. A brass dragon might spend hours, even days, conversing with travelers who cross its territory. What seems like idle chatter actually serves multiple purposes. The dragon gathers intelligence about distant lands, learns of emerging threats, identifies potential allies or enemies. Simultaneously, it assesses the travelers themselves. Are they merchants engaged in honest trade or smugglers carrying contraband? Are they pilgrims seeking enlightenment or cultists spreading corruption? Are they refugees fleeing persecution or criminals evading justice through seemingly casual conversation? A brass dragon learns everything it needs to know. They will talk for hours if allowed, and their passion for dialogue is so intense that even creatures known for being talkative, like squirrels and chipmunks, actively avoid brass dragons to escape endless conversations. These dragons also serve as living libraries in regions where written records might not survive the harsh environment. They remember songs and stories passed down through generations of desert nomads. They preserve knowledge of ancient civilizations that once flourished in now-dead lands. They know the locations of oases, safe passages through treacherous terrain, and the habits of dangerous desert creatures. This information they share freely with those they deem worthy, potentially saving lives and preventing disasters. Their lairs are designed not for war, but for dialogue, featuring alcoves crafted for conversation, pools of starlit water perfect for reflection, and gardens of scentless blossoms that bloom only under moonlight. Brass Dragon's sleeping breath weapon provides a non-lethal method of dealing with threats. Entire groups of bandits might fall unconscious, allowing the dragon to interrogate them upon waking or simply confiscate their weapons and leave them stranded without means to harm others. Enemy soldiers advancing through the desert might awaken hours later, dehydrated and disoriented, forced to abandon their mission. This preference for non-lethal solutions reflects Brass Dragon's fundamental belief that conversation and understanding should precede violence whenever possible. However, when threatened, they respond swiftly with their fire breath or magical abilities, always attempting to end conflict without blood when possible. Their lairs typically occupy desert ruins, ancient structures built by long-vanished civilizations. These locations provide shelter from sandstorms, while offering strategic vantage points over surrounding territory. Inside, Brass Dragons maintain extensive collections of scrolls, tablets, and books, preserved through magic against the deteriorating effects of heat and sand. Their hoards contain artifacts from dozens of cultures, each one carefully cataloged and studied. Maps showing the changing face of the desert over centuries cover walls. A brass dragon can describe regions as they appeared hundreds of years ago, knowledge invaluable to archaeologists and historians. Brass dragons often serve as messengers between allied flights of dragons, using their skills in conversation and diplomacy to maintain communication across metallic dragon society. Copper dragons complete the 5 kindreds of metallic dragons, bringing qualities of cleverness, humor, and creativity to the eternal Vigil. Their scales shimmer with warm, reddish tones, like newly minted coins catching firelight. These dragons inhabit rocky hills and mountains, particularly regions featuring complex cave systems and difficult terrain. They approach their guardian duties with a lighter touch than other metallics, preferring tricks and cleverness to direct confrontation when possible. This does not indicate weakness or lack of commitment, but rather a different philosophy about how best to protect the innocent. A copper dragon might defend its territory by creating elaborate illusions that discourage trespassers. Evil creatures entering its domain find themselves hopelessly lost, walking in circles through seemingly endless tunnels that all look identical. Bandits attempting to ambush travelers discover their weapons transformed into harmless objects, their armor suddenly too heavy to move in, their horses refusing to advance. By the time victims escape a copper dragon's tricks, they typically flee the region entirely, too embarrassed or frightened to return. The dragon achieves its goal, protecting its territory without needing to kill anyone. These dragons possess keen intellects and love of puzzles. They enjoy outsmarting opponents, demonstrating that cleverness defeats brute strength. When facing more powerful foes, copper dragons use terrain to advantage, leading enemies into traps, separating forces to fight them piecemeal, creating confusion and chaos among enemy ranks. Copper dragons have two breath weapons, an acid breath similar to black dragons, and a mysterious slowing gas that makes other creatures sluggish. The slowing breath proves perfect for such tactics, turning swift attackers into crawling targets easily avoided or outmaneuvered. Combined with their natural agility and magic, copper dragons can defeat enemies that might seem far more powerful on paper. Despite their trickster nature, copper dragons take their sacred duty seriously. They understand that humor and joy represent powerful weapons against the despair and fear that evil seeks to spread. A village under a copper dragon's protection might not even realize it is being guarded. Yet bandits mysteriously avoid the area. Monsters inexplicably choose other paths, and threats somehow fail to materialize. The dragon works behind the scenes, using its cleverness to redirect dangers rather than confronting them directly. Only when threats cannot be avoided or tricked away do copper dragons reveal their full might. And then enemies discover that beneath the playful exterior lies a warrior as fierce as any metallic dragon. Copper dragons lair in narrow, winding cave systems, places naturally suited to their love of complexity and tricks. These lairs feature countless chambers, connected by tunnels that twist and branch in bewildering patterns. Secret doors, hidden passages, and concealed rooms make navigation nearly impossible for intruders. The dragon knows every inch of its domain and can move through it effortlessly, appearing and disappearing seemingly at will. Illusory walls hide secret escape passages, which the dragon can collapse by focusing its acid breath if necessary. Their hoards include puzzles, games, art objects, and curiosities from across the world. Copper dragons collect interesting items regardless of monetary value, preferring unique or clever objects over simple gold. Together, these 5 kindreds form a comprehensive defensive network. Gold dragons provide strategic planning and long-term guidance. Silver dragons offer immediate, compassionate intervention. Bronze dragons maintain order and justice in coastal regions. Brass dragons preserve knowledge and protect desert territories. Copper dragons use cleverness and creativity to defend their domains. Each approach complements the others, creating redundancy and flexibility in the eternal vigil. Where one kindred's methods might fail, another's succeed. Where one's philosophy might hesitate, another's provides clear guidance. The metallic dragons recognize their interdependence. A gold dragon might consult with coppers about how to approach a problem that requires unconventional thinking. Silvers might coordinate with bronzes when protecting regions where land and sea meet. Brass dragons share intelligence gathered through their conversations with other kindreds who need that information. All 5 answer when gold dragons call for counsel, setting aside personal pursuits to address threats that endanger their collective mission. Unlike chromatic dragons, who are prone to fighting each other rather than cooperating, metallic dragons maintain relationships and work together, especially when facing threats of significant magnitude. This unity despite diversity gives the metallic dragons strength far exceeding the sum of their individual powers. Chromatic dragons, driven by ego and selfish desires, rarely cooperate effectively. Tiamat's children might temporarily ally when it serves their interests. But these partnerships collapse quickly into betrayal and conflict. Metallic dragons, guided by Bahamut's example and united by shared purpose, present a far more formidable force. Evil cannot predict their responses because they adapt their methods to each situation. Tyranny cannot exploit divisions among them because they remain united in purpose, even when disagreeing about methods. Section 3. Historic Interventions and Legendary Deeds. The chronicles of the metallic dragon's interventions span thousands of years across multiple worlds. Yet certain events stand out as defining moments when their vigil proved absolutely essential to the survival of civilization itself. These are not mere battles or skirmishes, but pivotal conflicts where the outcome determined whether light or darkness would shape the future. Through examining these historic interventions, you begin to understand the true scope and significance of the eternal vigil. On Faerun, perhaps the most catastrophic threat the metallic dragons ever faced came during the periods known as the Rage of Dragons, times when madness swept through dragonkind like wildfire. This rage originated from the Dracourage Mythal, a powerful magical effect created by elven high mages at the end of the time of dragons. The mythal was tied to a comet called the King Killer Star. And whenever this comet appeared in the sky, which occurred at intervals of approximately 300 years, though ranging between 100 and 700 years, all dragons across Faerun fell victim to overwhelming fury and bloodlust. The elves created this curse specifically to end draconic dominion over Faerun, ensuring that dragons could never maintain collective control over the world. When the dragon rage struck, even the noblest metallic dragons found themselves struggling against overwhelming fury and bloodlust. Gold dragons, who had spent centuries protecting mortal kingdoms, suddenly felt compelled to destroy them. Silver dragons, who loved their mortal friends, experienced horrifying urges to slaughter those they cherished. Bronze dragons abandoned their posts to rampage across the seas. Brass dragons turned on travelers they had welcomed as guests. Copper dragons used their cleverness for cruelty rather than protection. The curse affected all dragonkind indiscriminately, though its impact varied based on each dragon's strength of will and moral foundation. The metallic dragons fought this madness with every ounce of will they possessed. Unlike chromatic dragons, who embraced the rage as an excuse for their natural depravity, metallic dragons recognized the curse for what it was and resisted. Ancient worms who had maintained perfect control for millennia suddenly found themselves at war with their own natures. Some succeeded in mastering the rage, retreating to remote locations where they could ride out the madness without harming innocents. These dragons endured torment beyond mortal comprehension, their minds screaming for violence, while their will held firm against the curse. Days stretched into weeks, weeks into months, as they wrestled with fury that sought to break their control. Others failed, despite their desperate efforts. Good dragons succumbed to the rage and attacked mortal settlements, slaughtering innocents even as some part of their consciousness screamed in horror at their actions. The year 1356 Dale Reckoning saw particularly devastating attacks strike all around Faerun, with dragon rampages destroying cities and killing thousands across the Moonsea, Dalelands, Cormer, and other regions. When the curse finally lifted and these dragons regained their senses, they found themselves surrounded by devastation they had caused. The guilt and shame drove some to despair. Several metallic dragons, unable to live with what they had done during the rage, chose exile or even self-destruction rather than face those they had harmed. Yet the metallic dragon's commitment to their sacred duty manifested most powerfully in how they responded after each dragon rage ended. Rather than wallowing in guilt or abandoning their vigil, they worked tirelessly to make amends and prevent future occurrences. Gold dragons devoted their vast magical knowledge to researching the curse, seeking ways to break it permanently. Silver dragons helped rebuild communities destroyed during the Rage, working alongside mortals to restore what had been lost. Bronze dragons implemented warning systems to alert coastal settlements when dragon rage approached. Brass dragons preserved accounts of each rage, studying patterns that might predict future outbreaks. Copper dragons created contingency plans for containing affected dragons without killing them. The final rage of dragons occurred in 1373 Dale Reckoning, and it proved the most violent and longest lasting of all, enduring for an entire year. During this catastrophic event, the Lick Sammaster tied his phylactery to the Dracorage mythal, attempting to make its effects permanent rather than dependent on the appearance of the King-Killer star. Heroes eventually defeated Sammaster and destroyed both his phylactery and the Dracorage mythal itself, forever ending the magical madness that had afflicted dragons of Faerun for millennia. This represented a tremendous victory for metallic dragons, who could finally fulfill their guardian duties without fearing periodic descents into uncontrollable rage. Individual metallic dragons achieved legendary status through their deeds during various crises throughout history. Protanther, an ancient gold dragon, became renowned as the King of Justice for Western Faerun, serving in this role until he resigned in favor of another gold named Lareth. Protanther's leadership among metallic dragons proved invaluable during countless crises. During the late 1480s Dale Reckoning, Protanther gathered a council of metallic dragons in the Nether Mountains to coordinate their response when the reformed cult of the dragon attempted to summon Tiamat to the material plane. His wisdom and strategic thinking helped organize the metallic dragon's defense, demonstrating the vital role that experienced elder worms play in coordinating responses to existential threats. The relationship between metallic dragons and mortal heroes throughout history has taken many forms. Gold dragons have advised rulers and guided kingdoms toward justice, their counsel shaping the development of entire civilizations. During the glory days of Myth Draenor, before its destruction in the Weeping War, gold dragons dwelled in the city of song and harmony with other races. At one point, the gold dragons of Myth Draenor aided in magically trapping a powerful demon named Rivener, who had stolen one of the Baneblades of Demron and become too powerful to defeat through conventional means. This intervention prevented a demonic catastrophe that could have consumed the entire region. Silver dragons have formed particularly close bonds with mortals due to their tendency to adopt humanoid forms and live among mortal communities. Their favored enemies are red dragons, because these chromatic worms are almost always evil and possess tremendous talent for destruction. Additionally, silvers and reds favor the same mountainous terrain for their lairs, which which leads to territorial disputes, on top of having attitudes and philosophies completely at odds. When silver dragons confront red dragons threatening mortal settlements, the battles that result shake entire mountain ranges. But silver dragons never hesitate to face these powerful foes, if doing so protects innocence. Bronze dragons have served as guardians of coastal regions and maritime trade routes for millennia. Their commitment to order and justice makes them natural allies of lawful societies, and many port cities have flourished under bronze dragon protection. These dragons understand that civilization depends on reliable trade and safe passage across seas. So they dedicate themselves to eliminating piracy and protecting merchant vessels. A bronze dragon might patrol hundreds of miles of coastline, becoming a known and welcomed presence to fishing communities, merchant captains, and naval forces alike. Brass dragons, through their love of conversation and knowledge preservation, have served as living archives in desert regions where written records might not survive harsh conditions. They gather stories, songs, and histories from countless travelers, creating oral traditions that span centuries. This knowledge proves invaluable to scholars, archaeologists, and adventurers seeking information about ancient civilizations. A brass dragon who has dwelled in the same desert for 1,000 years can describe how the landscape has changed, where ruins lie buried beneath sand, and what dangers lurk in forgotten places. This information saves lives and enables the recovery of knowledge that might otherwise be lost forever. Copper dragons contribute to the eternal vigil through deeds that often go unrecorded precisely because they succeed so well that no one realizes intervention occurred. Their preference for clever solutions over direct confrontation means threats are often redirected or diffused without violence. A copper dragon might use illusions to convince bandits that a particular valley is haunted by terrible spirits, causing them to avoid the region entirely rather than prey on travelers. The dragon achieves its goal of protecting innocence without needing to kill anyone, and the travelers never know how close they came to danger. The relationship between metallic dragons and mortal kingdoms proves complex and varies greatly depending on specific circumstances. Some nations welcome dragons openly, granting them honored status as protectors and advisors. In these places, metallic dragons participate directly in governance. Their counsel sought on matters of war, diplomacy, and law. The Kingdom of Cormor maintained such relationships with several metallic dragons throughout its history, and this contributed significantly to its stability and prosperity compared to neighboring realms. When dragons advised caution, kings listened. When dragons warned of approaching threats, armies prepared. When dragons offered to mediate disputes, all parties accepted their judgment as fair. Other kingdoms view dragons with suspicion, even metallic ones. These rulers fear that no matter how benevolent a dragon's intentions, its power fundamentally undermines mortal sovereignty. How could a kingdom claim independence when a single dragon could overthrow the government if it chose? How could citizens feel truly free knowing that a vastly superior being monitored their affairs? These concerns are not entirely unreasonable, and metallic dragons understand them. In such places, they operate more subtly, maintaining their vigil from a distance, intervening only when absolutely necessary, and doing so in ways that minimize their visibility. This tension between protection and autonomy represents one of the greatest challenges metallic dragons face in fulfilling their sacred duty. They possess power to solve many of mortal civilization's problems directly, yet doing so risks creating dependency rather than genuine strength. A kingdom protected entirely by dragons never develops its own defenses. A people who rely on dragon intervention for justice never learn to govern themselves effectively. Mortals need to face challenges, to struggle and sometimes fail, because that struggle builds the strength and wisdom necessary for true civilization. Bahamut himself provides guidance on this matter, teaching that metallic dragons should serve as guardians, not rulers. They should protect mortals from threats beyond mortal capability to handle, while allowing mortals to resolve problems within their power. A dragon should fight an invading demon army, but let mortals deal with their own criminals. A dragon should warn of an approaching chromatic worm, but let mortal heroes attempt to defeat it if they show the courage and capability to do so. Only when mortals clearly face destruction beyond their ability to prevent should dragons intervene directly. This philosophy requires tremendous restraint. A gold dragon watching a kingdom slide into corruption and tyranny, knowing it could resolve the situation with a few strategic interventions, must decide whether mortal agency outweighs the suffering caused by inaction. A silver dragon observing injustice and oppression must determine whether this represents a problem mortals can solve themselves or requires dragon intervention. Bronze dragons monitoring pirate attacks need to judge when mortal navies deserve the opportunity to handle threats versus when those threats exceed mortal capabilities. The line between appropriate intervention and overreach often appears blurry, requiring wisdom and judgment that only centuries of experience can provide. On other worlds, metallic dragons adapted their methods to different circumstances while maintaining their fundamental mission. On Kryn, metallic dragons were created by the gods Paladine and Reorx to counter Takhis's creation of chromatic dragons, maintaining cosmic balance. During the War of the Lance, which began in 348 after Cataclysm, and lasted until 353 after Cataclysm. Metallic dragons returned from exile on the Dragon Isles, where they had dwelled during the Age of Despair. Their return proved pivotal to the conflict's outcome. The metallic dragons fought alongside the Whitestone army, which consisted of forces from Palanthas, Knights of Solamnia, who survived the Battle of the High Clerist's Tower, Qualinsti Griffin Riders, and Dragon Riders mounted on metallic dragons. These partnerships between dragons and riders represented bonds of profound trust and mutual respect, with each trusting the other absolutely and willing to die to protect their partner. The metallic dragons engaged chromatic dragons in massive aerial battles, and their intervention enabled the Whitestone forces to clear all northern Solamnia of Dragon Army forces during the Vingard campaign. Without metallic dragon intervention, Takhises would have conquered all of Krynn, plunging the world into eternal darkness. In Eberron, the relationship between metallic and chromatic dragons differs significantly from other worlds. On Eberron, draconic alignment and behavior are matters of individual choice rather than being determined by scale color. A blue dragon might choose to be heroic, though it still generates fierce thunderstorms wherever it settles due to biological traits. A black dragon might serve good causes, though it still fouls water sources regardless of alignment. This means metallic dragons in Eberron work alongside, or sometimes even against other metallic dragons, depending on individual philosophy rather than species. During the last war that devastated Eberron, metallic dragons found themselves in agonizing positions as allied nations tore each other apart. They knew that direct intervention might escalate the conflict into something even more catastrophic. Several metallic dragons attempted to broker peace during that terrible conflict, flying between warring capitals, carrying proposals and counter-proposals, risking their lives in neutral meetings where all sides might temporarily unite against a common dragon threat. These efforts ultimately contributed to the Treaty of Thronehold, though they could not prevent the Day of Mourning or undo the tremendous destruction the war had caused. The metallic dragons of Eberron learned bitter lessons about the limits of even their power, the reality that some catastrophes cannot be prevented no matter how desperately one tries. The histories of metallic dragon interventions across multiple worlds demonstrate consistent themes. They fight when fighting proves necessary, but prefer solutions that minimize bloodshed. They offer wisdom and counsel, but respect mortal autonomy. They form genuine bonds with mortals, despite the inevitable pain of watching shorter-lived friends age and die. They coordinate their efforts when major threats emerge, setting aside personal pursuits to address dangers that threaten their collective mission. and they maintain their vigil across centuries and millennia, understanding that evil never rests, and therefore neither can they. Section 4. Sacred Duties and Eternal Vigilance. The eternal vigil never rests, never pauses, never allows complacency to weaken its resolve. Each dawn brings new threats that must be identified and countered. Each dusk sees battles fought in shadows where mortal eyes cannot perceive them. The metallic dragons understand that their sacred duty extends far beyond responding to immediate crises. They must anticipate dangers before they fully manifest, prepare defenses against threats that have not yet emerged, and maintain readiness for conflicts that might erupt without warning. This requires organizational structures and training regimens that ensure each generation of metallic dragons upholds the standards established by their most ancient ancestors. The Council of Metallic Dragons represents the highest coordinating body within their society, though governance proves perhaps too strong a word for how these dragons cooperate. Unlike mortal kingdoms with rigid hierarchies and formal authority structures, metallic dragons value individual autonomy and freedom of choice. The council exists not to command, but to facilitate cooperation, to share intelligence gathered across vast territories, to coordinate responses when threats exceed what individual dragons can handle alone. Ancient gold dragons typically lead these councils, their wisdom and experience making them natural coordinators. But representatives from all 5 kindreds participate in deliberations. The councils form during times of great importance, typically when threats emerge that threaten metallic dragonkind or the civilizations they protect. These councils convene irregularly, meeting when circumstances demand coordination rather than following fixed schedules. A gold dragon might call for counsel when its centuries of observation reveal patterns suggesting some emerging catastrophe. A silver dragon might request assembly after discovering intelligence that affects multiple territories. Bronze dragons summon councils when maritime threats require coordinated naval responses. Brass dragons call meetings when preserved knowledge proves relevant to current situations. Copper dragons convene councils when their cleverness alone cannot solve particularly complex problems. The flexibility of this system allows rapid response to changing conditions while preventing the bureaucratic paralysis that often afflicts more rigid organizations. Dragon courts serve a different function than councils, addressing disputes between individual dragons and judging those who have violated the sacred trust of their guardian role. When a metallic dragon's actions harm innocents, whether through negligence or intentional wrongdoing, other dragons convene courts to determine appropriate for they acknowledge the painful reality that even metallic dragons can fail, can make mistakes, can in rare cases become corrupted by the very evil they oppose. The courts must balance justice with mercy, recognizing that good beings who err deserve opportunity for redemption, while ensuring that victims receive acknowledgement of wrongs committed against them. The most severe judgment a dragon court can render involves stripping a dragon of its place within the eternal vigil, declaring it unworthy to serve as a guardian. This fate, more terrible to metallic dragons than death itself, occurs rarely, but inevitably when dragons betray their sacred duty beyond any possibility of redemption. A gold dragon who used its position to manipulate mortal kingdoms for personal gain, rather than their benefit, might face such judgment. A silver dragon who slaughtered innocents during dragon rage and then refused to make amends might be cast out. A bronze dragon who abandoned its post to pursue treasure rather than maintain its watch could be exiled. These dragons do not face execution, for metallic dragons recognize the sanctity of life, even when dealing with those who have failed. Instead, they face isolation, cut off from their kindred, forced to live knowing they abandoned the purpose that should have defined their existence. Training young metallic dragons represents one of the Vigil's most crucial ongoing tasks. Wormlings possess tremendous potential, but lack the wisdom and control necessary to fulfill their sacred duty effectively. They must learn not just how to use their abilities, but when to use them, and when restraint serves better than action. This education begins almost from the moment they emerge from their eggs, though it continues throughout their lives as they mature through various age categories from wormling to very young, young to juvenile, young adult to adult, mature adult to old, very old to ancient, and finally to worm status. Parents provide initial instruction, teaching wormlings basic survival skills, fundamental magic, and the core principles of their guardian role. A gold dragon parent teaches its offspring about wisdom and long-term thinking, encouraging patience and contemplation. A silver dragon parent demonstrates compassion and intervention, showing how to identify those in need and respond appropriately. Bronze dragon parents instill respect for law and order, explaining how civilization depends on consistent justice. Brass dragon parents emphasize the value of knowledge and conversation, demonstrating how information gathering supports effective guardianship. Copper dragon parents teach cleverness and creative problem solving, showing that many challenges yield to wit rather than force. As young dragons mature beyond wormling stage, their education expands to include instruction from dragons outside their immediate family. They might spend years studying with ancient worms of other kindreds, learning different perspectives and approaches. A young gold might apprentice with a silver, to develop greater empathy and willingness to intervene. A young silver might study with a bronze to learn patience and systematic thinking. A young bronze might train with a copper to develop flexibility and creative tactics. This cross-kindred education ensures that all metallic dragons understand and appreciate the different methods their cousins employ, fostering the cooperation essential to effective guardianship. Young dragons also spend time observing mortal civilizations, learning about the creatures they will protect. They might take humanoid form and live among mortals for months or years, experiencing daily life from a mortal perspective. This immersion teaches invaluable lessons about mortal needs, fears, hopes, and dreams that no amount of distant observation could provide. A young dragon who has worked alongside human farmers understands the vulnerability of food supplies to drought or raiders. One who has served as a guard in a city knows the constant vigilance required to maintain order. One who has adventured with mortal heroes learns the courage ordinary beings demonstrate when facing impossible odds. The modern age presents metallic dragons with threats that differ significantly from those their ancient predecessors faced. The balance between good and evil remains, but the specific manifestations of evil evolve constantly. Chromatic dragons continue their depredations, but they employ new tactics learned from centuries of conflict with their metallic cousins. Tiamat's cults grow more sophisticated in their recruitment methods and operational security. Fiendish powers from lower planes develop novel strategies for corrupting mortal civilizations. Undead horrors multiply as necromancy advances. Aberrations from the far realm intrude more frequently as barriers between planes weaken. Each threat requires adapted responses, forcing metallic dragons to continuously evolve their methods. The relationship between metallic dragons and chromatic dragons remains intensely adversarial. Red dragons, most prideful and powerful of chromatic kind, view metallic dragons as affronts to draconic superiority. They are incredibly vain, even by dragon standards, and supremely arrogant. They think themselves chosen by Tiamat herself to reign in her stead, with all the world their dominion, and all beings in it their subjects, while all other breeds of dragon are inferior. Red dragons believe they are the pinnacle of draconic nature, and all other dragon species have departed from this purity. They are entirely confident in their abilities and themselves, incapable of any self-doubt. Ancient red worms specifically target metallic dragons, seeking to destroy them not just for territorial reasons, but to prove chromatic supremacy. These conflicts escalate into devastating battles that reshape landscapes and threaten nearby settlements with collateral damage. Blue dragons pose different challenges through their tyrannical approach to order. They command small empires, which might be territories of subjugated followers, shadowy criminal networks, or cultic enclaves. Endlessly suspicious and wary of rivals, these dragons enact elaborate schemes to ruin their foes, test the loyalty of their servants, and ensure their dominance for centuries. Arrogant and imperious, blue dragons crave control and collect followers like other dragons hoard treasure. They seek to transform their territories into empires, domains to be feared by nations. Bronze dragons, who value order but believe it must serve justice rather than tyranny, find themselves particularly opposed to blue dragon regimes. The conflict becomes ideological as well as physical, a struggle over the fundamental nature of civilization and governance. Green dragons spread corruption through deception and manipulation rather than open warfare. They infiltrate mortal societies, using their shape-shifting abilities and political acumen to gain positions of influence. From these positions, they subtly undermine good governance, corrupt officials, and spread decay throughout civilizations. They lie as easily as people speak, making them prime politicians and nobles. From these lofty positions, they can blackmail and bribe any they want. Some green dragons have documented habits of appearing as heroic young silver dragons to find adventurers who wish to slay them and push them into confrontations before they are ready. Since suddenly their young dragon ally turns into the ancient dragon they came to kill. Silver dragons, who also walk among mortals in disguised form, serve as primary opponents to green dragon schemes. The resulting conflicts often play out as shadow wars, where neither side reveals their true nature. Battles of wits and influence rather than claws and breath weapons. White dragons, while less intelligent than other chromatics, make up for this limitation with savage fury and relentless aggression. They are the weakest and most feral of the classic chromatic dragons. They possess minimal foresight or planning abilities, and their behavior reflects this. Their behavior is guided mostly by the same feral instincts that guide the average carnivorous predator. They attack settlements in frozen lands, viewing anything living as potential prey or competition for territory. They are vicious, cruel reptiles driven by hunger and greed. White dragons are always hungry and tend to become more savage as they mature. Their bestial nature makes them unpredictable and difficult to reason with or redirect. Metallic dragons in Arctic regions must maintain constant vigilance, for white dragons strike without warning and show no mercy. The challenge lies not in defeating individual whites, but in preventing the constant attacks from grinding down defenses until settlements become unsustainable. Black dragons embody cruelty and malice, taking pleasure in causing suffering for its own sake. No other dragon is as sadistic and cruel as a black dragon. They plot and scheme the torture and misery of any creature near them and revel in their pain. A black dragon's favorite thing to watch is a society crumble and die, especially by their own claws. They love finding ancient submerged or waterlogged civilizations, often making their homes in or near them. As watching civilization crumble is their favorite thing in all of their existence, any nearby towns are likely to have a black dragon invade local politics through bribery and manipulation. Nothing pleases them more than when riots break out and the city destroys itself. Their psychological warfare targets not just physical defenses, but mental and emotional resilience. Metallic dragons opposing black dragons must address not just the immediate physical threat, but also the spiritual damage these evil worms inflict on their victims. Healing communities traumatized by black dragon predation requires years of patient work, counseling, and support that extends far beyond simply killing the dragon responsible. Tiamat herself remains the ultimate threat, the dark goddess whose ultimate goal involves breaking free from the 9 hells and conquering the material plane. Tiamat is imprisoned in Avernus, only able to leave the plane if summoned by a powerful ritual. Her cults work tirelessly toward this goal, performing rituals, gathering artifacts, and undermining the barriers that contain her. In 1494 Dale Reckoning, the cult of the dragon's leader successfully assembled the mask of the Dragon Queen and used it to bring Tiamat's temple from her realm in Avernus to the Well of Dragons. Though he and his forces were ultimately defeated, and Tiamat was banished back to the 9 hells, metallic dragons monitor these cults constantly, disrupting their plans whenever possible. Gold dragons infiltrate cult leadership, using disguised forms to learn their secrets and sabotage major operations. Silver dragons rescue cult victims and potential recruits, offering them alternatives to Tiamat's false promises. Bronze dragons hunt cult cells that operate openly, bringing them to justice under mortal law when possible. Brass dragons gather intelligence on cult activities across multiple regions, piecing together larger patterns. Copper dragons create false cult operations that waste enemy resources and reveal their methods. The eternal conflict between Bahamut and Tiamat manifests through their respective followers as much as through direct divine intervention. Metallic dragons understand that in opposing chromatic dragons and Tiamat's cults, they fight not just for immediate victories, but in a cosmic struggle that transcends individual battles. The far realm presents perhaps the most disturbing modern threat, for aberrations from that alien dimension operate according to logic incomprehensible to normal minds. The far realm is an incomprehensible dimension beyond the known multiverse. This strange, chaotic force infects the material world, mutating creatures into horrors and creating abominations that should not exist. They corrupt rather than destroy, transforming victims into twisted mockeries of their former selves. Aberrations include mind flayers, beholders, and aboleths, among others. Their plans are bigger than simple dungeon raids, as they infiltrate governments, enslave secret armies, and unravel reality itself. Everything about encountering them should feel wrong. As gravity might shift, time could flow backward, or light bends unnaturally. Metallic dragons fighting aberrant incursions face enemies that defy conventional tactics. Creatures whose very existence violates natural law. Some metallic dragons who have studied aberrations too closely show signs of mental strain, their thoughts becoming strange and disconnected. Looking toward the future, metallic dragons recognize that their vigil must adapt to changing circumstances while maintaining core principles. Younger dragons sometimes debate whether traditional methods remain effective in the modern age. Some argue for more direct intervention, claiming that threats have grown too severe for the old restraint. Others warn that increased intervention risks the dependency problems their ancestors worked to avoid. These debates prove healthy, forcing examination of assumptions and preventing stagnation, though they sometimes create friction between generations. The challenge of maintaining the vigil across generations becomes more apparent as ancient worms reach the end, even of dragons' tremendous lifespans. These eldest dragons possess wisdom and experience irreplaceable by any amount of study or training. When they pass, whether from violence or old age, the eternal vigil loses repositories of knowledge spanning millennia. Younger dragons must step into roles their elders filled, accepting responsibilities they may not feel ready to bear. The continuity of the vigil depends on successful knowledge transfer from old to young, ensuring that lessons learned through centuries of experience inform future guardians' choices. Metallic dragons also face the question of their place in a world where mortal civilizations grow increasingly powerful and sophisticated. Advanced magic, technological innovation, and organized militaries mean mortals can defend themselves against threats that would have destroyed them centuries ago. This could suggest that the role of dragon guardians might diminish, but experience shows the opposite. As mortal power grows, so too do the dangers that emerge to threaten them. The eternal vigil remains as necessary as ever, though its specific manifestations evolve to address modern challenges. The metallic dragon's commitment never wavers despite these challenges and uncertainties. They understand that evil never rests, never surrenders, never accepts defeat as final. Every victory proves temporary, requiring eternal vigilance to maintain. This reality might discourage lesser beings, but metallic dragons embrace it as the nature of their existence. They do not protect the innocent because they expect evil to be permanently defeated. They protect because protection itself represents a good worth pursuing, because every life saved has value, because every day of peace matters, even if tomorrow brings new conflict. Your world remains safe tonight because somewhere a gold dragon watches and plans. A silver dragon walks among you in disguised form, ready to intervene should danger threaten. A bronze dragon patrols coastlines, ensuring ships sail safely. A brass dragon gathers intelligence that might prevent tomorrow's catastrophe. A copper dragon employs cleverness to redirect threats before they materialize. They ask nothing in return for this service, seek no worship or tribute, desire only that innocent beings live free from terror and oppression. The eternal vigil continues, as it has for thousands of years, as it will for thousands more. The metallic dragons stand ready, their wings spread wide to shield you from darkness, their breath weapons prepared to destroy evil, their wisdom available to guide you through crisis. This is their sacred duty, their eternal purpose, their reason for existence. And they will never abandon it, no matter the cost. Thank you for listening, and may Bahamut's platinum scales reflect light upon your path.